Welcome to Keeping Current with Grubby and Minx. My name is Grubby Grubberson. And before we start the show, Minx, how was your weekend?
Oh, it wasn't too bad. How about for yourself?
Little cold. I can't afford heating. But luckily I found a little fix for that. I guess we'll start with what's going on the docket today. On today's episode, a terror attack in China weakens tensions between the country and the United Kingdom. Orange stains on Tupperware after spaghetti, tomato contamination, or something more sinister. And MANIC MINX talks with Deacon O'Hare, discussing the coification of the Catholic Church. But first, here's a word from me representing my sponsor. Dave, shut the fuck up. I'm playing it. Dave, I'm playing it. I need some fucking money. I literally just said I didn't have heat this weekend.
Are you sick of the government-run federal banking system? Are you tired of regulations saying you're too in debt to take out another loan? Is the liberal taxation scheme draining your resources away from paying your healthcare procedures, assisted living facilities, or from intriguing and complicated crypto opportunities to help grow your legacy portfolio? If you answered yes to any or all of these questions, look no further than the services offered by Putnam, Assad, and Zhao. With offices based in Liberia, Barbados, and Macau, PAZ fights the communist shackles so that your money can work for you. If making lots of money and not paying a dime to Joe Biden and the Clinton Foundation interests you, don't hesitate. Pick up the phone and dial 999-786-808-543-7222. Financial freedom is only one phone call away, so please call Putnam, Assad, and Zhao, and make sure you have at least 2 credit cards and your social security number ready for our operatives to get you started today. That's 999-786-808-543-7222 for Putnam, Assad, and Zhao. International charges may apply. My name is Grubby Grubberson, and I stand by Putnam, Assad, and Zhao.
The pot of diplomacy reaches a boil today. In Beijing, a terror plot was intercepted by alleged British nationals. We have Minx on the scene, live in Beijing. Minx, what is the sense of in the air there?
It's quite strange in Beijing right now because usually in moments like this, when a terrorist attack is avoided, you only see government officials really responding to it with such a tense and cold attitude. But even the citizens here, it was an attack that this attempt of the attack was really felt amongst the population here in Beijing. It's quite interesting to see sort of this Chinese nationalism that we're not quite used to.
The rest of the Western world is reeling as the ripples of diplomacy seem to be tearing apart. China is making direct accusations to the United Kingdom of this terrorist plot. Now, this is unprecedented for global powers to be making straight up accusations like this. In this day and age, we haven't seen anything of the likes of this since hottest moments of the Cold War and World War II. Is China preparing for something greater than threats and accusations?
It is still a very real possibility that the Chinese regime could implement some very strong sanctions against some of its most powerful Western allies.
Minx, you mentioned earlier about the rising nationalism in China. Is the sentiment there turned to rage against the West?
It's more passive-aggressive. It's less so a burning anger or a force of rage, per se. The Chinese people just seemed sort of done with trying to engage with Westernism as a concept. They're turning back to more of their traditional influences. They're trying to focus more on an Eastern perspective, and we might see some progress socially there, where some history, bad blood between the Chinese, the Japanese, and citizens of Taiwan. We might see a lot of those start to mend here out of a common shared perspective.
So you're saying that a potential consequence of this failed terror plot is a new united Asia when we have done such a good job through the mid-20th century to break them apart.
Oh, absolutely.
They have returned.
Absolutely. It seems like this may have been the metaphorical chopstick that broke the camel's back.
Well, turning to the details in particular, sources tell us that several mercenaries linked to Great Britain attempted to conduct a genocide of sorts by interfering with the caloric capacity of the Chinese citizenry. The plot involved stealing one chopstick from every pair of chopsticks, thus leaving the Chinese population unable to feed themselves. Luckily, Chinese officials discovered the plot, they intercepted, and no chopsticks were taken. But if these accusations are correct, if this situation is as unfolds, China is going to take this as an absolute threat. Is that not right, Minx?
Oh, that was quite a clever and well thought out attempt at a genocide. To be honest, it would have been incredibly effective had it gone through.
Yes.
Very, 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 very sort of 2 steps ahead of your enemy kind of concept here. Such a bold colonial and imperial act.
You've gone for sushi, right? Have you ever dropped one of your chopsticks?
And what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
You can't consume that food. Like, you're not a savage. You won't use your hands.
Spear it, and you're not going to use your hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Chinese food, sweet and sour pork, very messy. Stains the fingertips. Sticky, sour. It gets, when you get the stains under your fingernails.
Absolutely, and that's just,
it's kind of gross.
That would be a complete stall of any access to food for a nation.
So, as we know, culturally in Asia, chopsticks are the primary utensil. And in China, no difference. So, there is approximately 1.5 billion people in China, and this would affect 1.2 billion people. Theoretically, if this wasn't stopped, 1.2 billion people would have died, and that was the goal.
Within weeks. It would have been massive devastation.
Nearly instantly.
It would have been an impact felt across the globe.
Now, some people say maybe this situation wouldn't be so bad. You could have soup, you could just cook your food longer and drink it, but that's no fun. You're at a Chinese food restaurant. You're slurping up noodles.
It's just, a lot of excuses for sort of the fragility of the Chinese regime. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where we just have to come with terms that this regime is sort of on the brink of destruction at any point due to Western influences, whether they be diplomatic, trade-oriented, or acts of terrorism.
Oh, okay, Minx, I'm just getting a little note here. The identity of the alleged terrorist, the head of the terrorist group, there is no name associated, but we have a Scottish climate extremist, Chase McDermott. He is a known mercenary. He has operated throughout the Middle East and in South Asia. He is known to have shut down factories during the Myanmar genocide and coup. It appears that he has been apprehended by Chinese officials. Now that we have an actual individual linked, we do know that he is not a member of the Royal Army or any of the armed forces at all. But still, since he is a national, will China punish other nationals in China for the crimes of this individual?
We've seen it before with this regime. If you are Scottish, I recommend you get out of this country yesterday, because it seems like they will absolutely have some sort of retaliation, having now learned one of the identities of these terrorists. And it's going to be a rough time for Scotland. They have an economy that struggles to stand on its own. We're going to see, Chinese bagpipe sales drastically declined due to this unfortunate circumstance.
Minx, I got a comment. It's not very well known, but in the same way that San Francisco and LA are known for their Chinatowns, Shanghai is known for its Little Scotland sector. And there is a large population of Scottish individuals living in Shanghai, and now they are at risk. Maybe they cannot leave the country.
Absolutely, and it's going to be an area that's going to be easy for this regime to control because they've already segregated themselves into their own communities. So,
and we do know exactly what the CCP is capable of with the Uyghurs in the Uyghur province, and we expect the same for the Scottish in Little Scotland and Shanghai.
Oh, absolutely! It's definitely a tense day to be a Scot. I would say
in Shanghai. Yeah. All right, moving on to our next story. Have you ever been at home, folks, washing your dishes after a long day at work? You're doing your breakfast dishes and whatever Tupperware you bring home, and you had an excellent lunch. You had delicious spaghetti and red sauce, and you're scrubbing away in the sink, and the orange stains just won't go away. And you think to yourself, well, I just bought this Tupperware. I just bought it last week. This is the first time I've used it. I meal prepped, and now it's stained orange. Forever? You throw Lysol on it. You throw bleach on it. Nothing takes the orange stain out. Why? We have Minx in studio here to discuss. Minx, orange stains in Tupperware. What's going on? Why is this happening? Why does it happen to me? Why does it happen to you?
You know, this is one of those lost wonders of the world. It's a mystery to this day where it just doesn't make sense.
Well, okay, let me just get going. So I eat my spaghetti in a white ceramic bowl. I eat it, slurp it up, get seconds. Sometimes I'll store it in there, put a little saran wrap on top. Leave it overnight. Microwave it, eat it. I'm battering it, applying more. It's sitting there. It's marinating in the sauce. But it doesn't stain.
Exactly. Like, it'll momentarily before you clean it, it will appear as Tupperware does.
Yes, it
but
has
the
dirty,
instant you apply, normal cleaning techniques, it is completely brand new again. And it's just strange that with Tupperware, why doesn't it get cleaned? Like, and it's only these certain types of sauces. Like, it just does not make sense to me.
Now,
like,
I don't have any evidence of this, but I don't remember it happening to my Tupperware as a kid. I just don't remember it. So has something changed with tomatoes? With the tomato sauces? Is there additives? Is the Joseph Biden adding something to the tomatoes?
It very well could be a globalist conspiracy to add something to food to, sort of impact the lives of patriots, of nationalists who are proud of themselves and who want, to have a clean life. As, great thinkers like Jordan Peterson would say, clean your room, clean your Tupperware. But now we can't because of these globalists. And it's just frustrating. I've heard theories as extreme as saying that the Italians themselves, the entire ethnicity, has been cursed with this Tupperware stain that now, even if you're not Italian, you have to suffer the consequence if you want to consume their food. There's something here that we don't know the answer to, but we know where it's leading. It's leading to the same old song and dance of, the alliance between these globalists, these vegetarians, these Easterners and these foreigners. And it just comes together, and the feminists, of course, they're involved in some way.
Of course. Well, if you think about it, it's like a sick metaphor. It's like a signature by the Joker, a calling card.
Absolutely,
it's like the makeup that the feminists reject.
Absolutely.
Now is cursed onto the Tupperware.
They've left a stain on our society, and it's just a metaphor now that they're leaving a stain on our Tupperware.
The red lipstick is gone. We shed ideas of normal beauty, and we cast it onto your Tupperware food containers.
Absolutely.
And in a Hunchback of Notre Dame like curse that staining, which was once beautiful somewhere else, now there is a mark on society. It is a dredge, and it's ugly and horrible, and it just ruins my fucking day.
Absolutely.
Every time
And
I see it.
if you really do think about it, too, Tupperware is the perfect bastion of American entrepreneurialism and multi-level marketing, and the fact that anyone who's willing to pull themselves up by their bootstraps can make cash. They can become a millionaire if they really work towards it. Back in the 60s and 70s, we saw the sort of proud American housewife even not only just being breadwinners, but being American entrepreneurs. And this is a direct.
It's a proud American tradition.
It's absolutely it's an attack on American values.
But you're absolutely right. It's related to the American ideal, in the sense that it has the history of the industry itself in Tupperware being a capitalist idea, but also the notion and what it's used for. By those prudent Americans who make a meal and do not wish to throw it away after they can't finish it. They put it in a Tupperware container to throw it away whenever they want.
Absolutely. It's
right?
just,
They're given the freedom through Tupperware.
Absolutely. And it's something
But now freedom is destroyed. Now it's all red and orange and horrible. And
absolutely. It goes back to previous episodes when we talked about the red spread. It's happening on all fronts.
The red spread is everywhere.
100%.
You cannot get away from it.
Yeah, it's spreading to everything.
You see it in the Democratic House. You see it in Europe as they become more and more communist, and you see it in the Tupperware. Whenever you want to just add some white soup, and then there's just the orange shit on the side, so it looks weird. And when you're eating it in front of your coworkers, you kind of hide it because it's like, what is it? It's weird. It's horrible, and it makes you look like you don't even clean your stuff. When people look at your Tupperware when they come over,
it makes
and it looks like
communist.
He gives up. He gives up when he's cleaning his stuff. There's still food in the thing, and Carol, I swear to God, it's not dirty. It's clean. I clean it. I clean it 5 times, Carol.
Carol, he is not, a freeloading communist. You need to know that.
It only makes so much sense to run my dishwasher so many times, and then it just becomes like a waste of energy, and my bills are just getting really out of hand lately. I can't afford to keep doing it. I watched it. I tried, Carol. I tried.
It's just a tragic story of the destruction of American.
And now for our final segment of the day, it's MANIC MINX.
All right, audience. We're excited to do another MANIC MINX segment. Today we've got a pretty exciting guest here on our show. We're joined here with Deacon O'Hare. Deacon O'Hare, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, laddie.
Well, welcome to our show.
Good to be here.
We're going to talk to you a little bit today about...
And bless you and your audience and everyone on your production.
Well, we appreciate that very sincerely.
Father, Lord in heaven, the Holy Ghost.
Thank you.
All of that.
Thank you so much for that, Deacon. So, we're here to talk to you about some of your opinions on the recent qualification of the Catholic Church. It's been quite a mover and shaker on the global stage.
Yes, well... in the Catholic tradition, it's not really one's place to go against the grain of authority, but I can't stand idly by. This qualification, it just goes too far against what the Catholic Church really represents. The Catholic Church I grew up with, that my father grew up with, and my grandfather before him grew up with. The Pope, the office of the Pope is a travesty, a shadow of its former self.
And we can sympathize with you that on that point here in the show. It is tough to see your traditions, your values, your culture, and your rituals being challenged. We can't imagine it's been easy. There's a lot of struggles involved in this process.
It is quite hard. We've had to adapt from holy water to Belle Delphine bath water. She can only produce so much, so our blessings have gone right down. And poor little babes born fresh from their mother's womb, new hospitals that are built, they are unbaptized. They are ungiven that holy water because now Belle Delphine can only take so many baths. She's not even a pure Japanese anime. That is the real kicker for me. When you have a coification of the Catholic Church, it should be pure, straight from the teat of Japan. But we're seeing all sorts of otaku culture from around the world, and it's absolutely upsetting to me.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting issue at hand here, because we can sympathize with the logistics.
I mean, you could even argue that Belle Delphine isn't even otaku at all. She wears the ears, she colors her hair. She has the anime figurines behind her, but is she herself a representative of coification throughout the world?
That's a very important question around, the canon of the new faith here. And I think we've seen this historically, where we'll see, different segments of the Catholic Church maybe branching off to create their own new versions of.
Well, that's what I'd like to see. That's what I propose. I've sent a letter to the College of Cardinals and as many parishes around the world as I could possibly find, in order to propose this idea to go against and separate and protest against the new Catholic Church.
Yeah, and we support that on our show here. That sounds like you're just standing up for the values of what is a part of your tradition.
Absolutely,
your culture.
It's part of who we are. It's part of our parishioners. You have your traditions, how you were raised, how your parents were raised, and you keep them. That's the whole point of the religion, right? The Jews circumcise, right? Tradition, a horrible act, but it's beautiful in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of purpose to that tradition, and it's hard when it seems to be the mainstream opinion that some of these things need to move forward.
I think little boys all should be. I think it should be that would be one change I would make to the Catholic Church, is to have circumcision everywhere. Because did you know this about circumcision? That it's the rabbis themselves, and in the real traditional circumcision, you would snip at the bris during the bris. You snip the foreskin, and then the rabbi will suck so that the wound clots at the site of the wound.
Yeah, that seems like a very
I'm just saying, as a Catholic priest, I'm qualified.
That seems like, absolutely, like an important moment of, a unity.
Connection with the parishioner.
There's a connection
to
there.
this young lad just born into the world, unsure of what faith is, unsure on the Trinity and all the comings and goings of the Catholic Church. I can make that bond.
Immediate connection to God.
Immediate connection, correct.
Yeah, beautiful potential within, what traditions could come about from a new sect to Catholicism.
I'm really sorry, laddie. Ming. I have to just keep complaining. I hate complaining. It is a bit of a sin to complain, but having to, it's part of our rules to eat only cup noodles or sushi rolls for supper. I cannot. That's not what I was raised on. I'm a meat and potato man myself.
Yeah, and that would be hard. There's other dishes that you could explore as your church. Maybe something like, Japanese roasted vegetables or a katsu might be something that's more appropriate for you, or teriyaki.
That seems like a bit much of a compromise in my opinion. I like Irish meat and potatoes, American hamburgers, Italian pizza, okay? That is the Catholic Church. That is what we are. We are all those things separate and one. Much like the Holy Ghost and the Father and the Son.
Yeah, I can see your perspective there. That's an interesting take.
And another problem I have, Minx, let me tell you. All the nuns are gone. They got rid of the nuns. They've replaced the nuns with VR, hentai girls, and waifu body pillows, and it's an absolute disgrace in my opinion.
I'm just gonna, Deacon,
What's wrong, lad?
You're correct. It is wrong to sin, and you, as a deacon of all, should know that first and foremost. And if you're gonna come on our show, taking the fight to waifus and defending those old hags that you call nuns, that's absolutely disrespectful to what our show stands for.
The nuns would run our charities and our hospitals.
You're telling me that
now they're run by VR dominoes, mascots, and literal pillows.
That is just a line you cannot cross.
And the pillows
with
are quite
me.
sinful. Have you seen what's printed on them? It is quite distasteful.
I sat here respecting your culture and your tradition, and you're going to sit here and spit on Dakimakura, which I'll let you know, Deacon, is a long tradition within my family. I have a waifu. My father before me, he had his wife and his dakimakura, and his father before him also had his own dakimakura.
Oh, sinful. I cannot believe you, Minx.
That is far from sin. How is it sin?
Well, you're making love to an inanimate object.
What were we supposed to do beforehand in Catholicism? Make love to those old hags? You weren't allowed. They were off limits in God's eye.
Well,
God said it's okay now.
They were brides of the Lord Himself.
They
were married to God.
What does God need His own brides for? God in this new Catholicism.
Likes to dick down, Minx.
No, I think this new Catholicism either it has the truth or it's interpreting the text a whole lot better, because this new God is merciful and respectful by allowing us to wed ourselves to the waifu who took the place of the nuns. They are our queens. They are our queens. They are our ladies, and they are who we will defend in wartime and in despair. They are the light within the darkness. You as a deacon should know that.
Absolutely outrageous.
You claim to be a defender of the light.
Next you're saying you're glad that Hunter x Hunter has replaced the Nicene Creed in the Catholic Church.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I'm changing my perspective here. I
the
thought
Naruto
we were
Shippuden has replaced the garden myth. We
are you
can't
kidding?
even teach Adam and Eve no more.
Better stories take place of old, tired traditions, sir. These are true stories of character. These are true struggles of the human soul. And in the eyes of the Lord Himself, He recognizes that. That's why we've seen this process changed.
Now, I know we're not in a setting, boy, but I can hear it in your voice. I hear a confession waiting to come out in your prolification of these body pillows. What have you done to them? What vile acts have you done cast upon to these feather-based
I have
wads?
done all within my rights as a God-fearing man, deacon, and I have done as the Lord has instructed me. I have shown the new waifus under the Lord
sinner.
what they are to expect from a man of Catholic faith.
This is the problem we're seeing with the youth today. At our Catholic schools, all the nuns are replaced with body pillows, and all the teenage boys having their way with them. The printings are foul. The printings represent the worst of modern culture, and the Japanese are to blame.
It is a point of divine revelation is what happened here, sir, when God showed the light to those who still believe. And you, sir, are going to be left in the darkness. You're going to be left with your sin, and you're going to be left with your traditions that have no place in this world. And here's the irony of this all, too, is these faiths, this new form of Catholicism, these divine foresight, this divine look into the future of what Catholicism was meant to be, that's the tradition in and of itself. Tradition has to start at some point, you know. Jesus came to earth at some point. And it's no different now than the waifus becoming nuns themselves, taking that spot, and bringing forward a new dawn of Catholicism in the modern world.
Jesus came down once, and He will come again, and He will see sinners like you and cast you to hell.
I can guarantee you that if Jesus came here, He would come with a Mother Mary Dakimaru in tow, sir. He would have one ready for the population to feel the divine comfort of the Holy Mother herself, sir.
Well, that was quite an interesting conversation on the Manic Minx segment. That concludes our show, audience. Thank you for tuning in to Keeping Current with Grubby and Minx. This is your host, Grubby Grubberson. And before we go, I'm still taking sponsorships. Yes, okay. Sponsorship, partnerships, anything that can give me money. I'm going to start a Patreon. Please, I'll link that. I'm going to link it next episode. And remember, we're your only source of news. You ever heard the thing where you eat garlic and you smell like garlic? You just not even just your breath, like you ooze it out of your pores.
Yeah.
Will the same thing happen if someone just spit garlic into your asshole?
No, you wouldn't. Your
absorb
asshole would smell like garlic.
No, but if you eat garlic...
Oh, I guess because you're saying like the asshole
pores.
absorbs shit better.
I wasn't saying that, but I do think that's true.
If you put like a clove of garlic in your butthole, that would probably give you garlic scent.
Now, from what I understand with garlic, is that the garlic flavor comes out by the more surface area. So if you just were to flip a little clove in your butt, that's actually a real mild way to have garlic, is to have one giant piece. The more garlic, if you want a more garlicky flavor, you got to mash it up and mince it up and whatever.
I guess. Yeah, so
if someone were to mince it up, or chew up a clove of garlic and spit it in your asshole.
That would be the maximum garlic potential.
It's kind of like butt chugging,
but garlic.
but Italian.
Yeah, like Italian butt chugging.
Italian butt chugging.
So